I landed in Lisbon with no itinerary, just a few days to explore and nowhere to be. I checked into the hostel, changed, and headed out. Some cities take time to grow on you, others pull you in immediately. Lisbon, it does neither. Instead, it lets you wander at your own pace, in your own way. I landed in Lisbon without a plan, just a few days to explore, my bags, and no real agenda. Maybe that is the best way to see a place. First stop, Chiado. No sightseeing, no checklist, just food, a drink, and a city that already felt easy to settle into. I got an Aperol Spritz and a burrata prosciutto salad at A Brasileira, a small restaurant in Chiado. Simple but perfect. There's something about Lisbon at night. It doesn't overwhelm you like some big cities. It's alive, but in a way that lets you breathe. Just music, street performances, buskers, conversations, and warm streetlights. So I sang and I danced and ended the night on that high note. So excited for day 2 in Lisbon. Mornings in Lisbon are slow. No rush, no stress, just an espresso and pastel de nata from Manteigaria. On my way to grab pastel de nata. Let's go. Who knew that a flaky pastry inside of a tiny cup is somehow better than breakfast anywhere else? One pastel de nata wasn't enough, so I walked next door for another breakfast. To me, Lisbon wasn't about sightseeing, it was about wandering, so that's exactly what I did. I didn't need souvenirs, but I bought them anyway. A small reminder of a city I already knew I'd come back to. Praça do Comércio isn't just a square, it's Lisbon's front porch, wide open to the Tagus River. Standing here, you feel small, but in the best way possible. The kind of place that has seen centuries of arrivals, departures, celebrations, and quiet moments like this one. If Lisbon has a heartbeat, it's here. Open, bright, full of life. Tourists taking photos, locals walking through like it's just another day. After wandering around Praça do Comércio, I headed straight to Juliana Bezerra's jewelry store. She's a local designer, and her store is in a small, quiet space tucked between Lisbon's winding streets. The streets here are so quiet. Of course, minus the rare cars and vehicles passing through. Each piece here feels like a reflection of Lisbon. Subtle, but with character. Simple, but not plain. I took my time, looked through everything, and left with something small but meaningful. These pieces are a souvenir I'll cherish and remember forever. I couldn't decide between the last one and this one, but I eventually ended up going with this, and a little pendant. It was such a cool experience to see these pieces being made right here. As I made my way towards the Belém Tower, I stumbled upon a row of rental bikes. It seemed like such a fun way to get there, so I rented one. And yeah, it truly was a lot of fun. At some point, I got hungry, saw a restaurant that didn't look too busy, didn't look too touristy either. That was enough for me to stop. Fresh fish, local wine, cheaper than I expected. It didn't need to be anything more than that. From there, I finally made it to the Belém Tower. I wasn't in a rush, just took my time, walked up to it, stood there for a bit. I found a spot in the park and sat down. No distractions, no plans, just a good place to stop for a while in the afternoon. Eventually, I called an Uber back. I had to make it back to the hostel, especially after all the wine that I had. But this was such a dreamy afternoon. I will always remember the solo time that I spent here at the park. After a short nap, it was time to grab food. Dinner was easy. Time out market. The sun was setting in Lisbon, and this was such a nice time to take a walk. Time out market is a place that at first feels too chaotic, too much. But then, once you step inside, it just makes sense. Especially when you have the Euro Cup going on. The energy in here was absolutely insane. It only took me one day to form a habit: coffee and pastel de nata twice a day. I was craving sushi, so after having that for dinner, I grabbed myself a gelato, and it was time to head back to the hostel for the night. The streets weren't completely empty. Parked cars lined both sides, few people still out, voices carrying just enough to remind me the night wasn't over for everyone. This is Lisbon at night, winding down. Day 2 in Portugal. I've barely slept last night, so I basically woke up at around like 12. Already have left to grab breakfast, or more like brunch now, and it's raining, so the rain jacket on. I've never been like a shopper on a vacation, but this time I feel like checking out some vintage stores and some really nice stores here in Lisbon that I saw. But the first stop was brunch, so I made my way to Dear Breakfast in Chiado. One of those cozy places that feels like it was made for afternoons like this. A mimosa, eggs, sourdough, something light, something simple. The kind of brunch that doesn't just rush you out the door. It was one of the best solo brunch dates I've ever been on. And just like that, by the time I stepped outside, the rain was gone. Just like that, the city had changed again. Lisbon is like that. One minute, it slows you down. The next, it's pulling you back in. Like it doesn't want you to stop moving. I wandered for a while, no real plan, just letting the city fill in the gaps. Next stop, vintage shop. Humana. So I stepped in here, looked through things, didn't really need anything. But that's not why you go into places like these. After that, I figured one last gelato, because why not? It has kind of become a pattern at this point. Coffee, pastel de nata, gelato. A routine I wouldn't mind keeping. At some point, it was time to head back to the hostel. Time to pack up for an early morning flight tomorrow. Time to leave Lisbon. At least for now. Later that evening, for my last meal in Lisbon, I went back to where I started, a Brasileira in Chiado. Same burrata salad, but this time with Prosecco instead of Aperol. It felt right to end it this way, a full circle kind of moment. And of course, with the last stop being in Manteigaria. My last espresso, my last pastel de nata of this trip.
You should say that again.
You said it.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next one.